and welcome into the PHLY Eagles podcast. I am Jamie Lynch, joined today by our pal Roy Burton. Roy, what up?
What's going on, Jamie? How you feeling today, man?
I'm good, man, because I'll be honest with you. And first, let me tell you, of course, we're presented as always by our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. They're based right here in Fort Washington. They have 24 area locations all across the Delaware Valley, and it's always smart to have a credit union in your corner. So check out TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Roy, I'm pretty great, and I'll tell you why. I didn't think Jihaad Campbell was a real possibility. I didn't have him as a guy I really talked about, thought about, because I thought, all right, it's a labrum. Maybe there's a little bit of a knee issue. We'll get into some of that. But I kind of thought, like, he's not a real possibility. So I never thought about him that much. And I'll be honest, when pick 31 came up and the trade happened last night, I almost forgot he was on the board. And then Jihaad, I see Zach Berman and Bo and Fran kind of break it on the show there. And I was like, oh, forgot about him. So I'm pretty excited and enthused after last night. The first linebacker the Eagles have taken since 1979, and Jerry Robinson. And we'll talk about if he's an edge or if he's a true linebacker and all that today. But I'm feeling pretty great after night one. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good too. To be honest with you, I'll pull back the curtain a little bit. I didn't think we'd have a pick to talk about today, right? Like you told me, hey, can you come on the show Friday? I'm like, sure. We're not going to have a guy to talk about. We'll talk about guys. We'll talk about guys we want to pick, at 36, 37, 38 or whatever. I didn't think we'd have a pick to talk about. And I thought, if we had a pick, it'd be Walter Nolen. I mean, the Walter Nolen was a guy who I've circled and highlighted and checked off on my box. So I'm like, Walter Nolen's going to be my guy. The last couple of days, people have kind of, talked me out of that dream and said he's not going to be there at 32, but I still had the dream. And then when he went, 16, I was like, all right, well, I guess let's kind of turn the page a little bit and see where we're going. So I didn't expect, other than Walter Nolen, I didn't know what to expect at 31, 32. And quite frankly, again, the Eagles, and we'll talk about it more, but the Eagles look like they got a steal with Jihaad Campbell. So when you're drafting 32, first of all, you're in a good spot, right? Like it's always good to draft 32. So you're in a spot where you just won a title, and you're probably in a spot where you don't have to draft necessarily for need. You can draft for, best player available or whatever have you. And that's how he said last night, the Eagles were in a spot to get a guy who they thought that was going to make an impact on their team. So they made the trade and got him.
Yeah, it seems, Zach Berman did a great job hustling down to the NovaCare last night. So he was there when the pick was made, was there for Howie. Roseman asked the great question to Jihaad of like, hey, when you saw that 215 number pop up, what was that like? And he was just like, you saw him kind of beaming. You saw the way he ran out of the tunnel and he smacked the Eagles thing.
Right.
I mean, this is every kid's dream, right? To get drafted by your home football team. You go down to the SEC. You're an absolute monster down there. Some injury concerns make you fall, but it feels like, again, Mina Kimes for ESPN was just like, he can't keep getting away with this. He keeps finding talent, and it's because they're in a position of luxury because, as you said, they're picking 32. You kind of can let some guys fall to you and take those chances there. But overall, just an incredible night to get the kid. The fact that he's from here, that he seems pumped to be here, just makes it that much sweeter. It was a really cool evening.
No, very cool evening. Like you mentioned Mina Kimes. She said that was her draft crush, right? This was her draft crush, the guy that she wanted, to see land in a good spot. And of course, that good spot happens to be, 30 miles away from where Jihaad Campbell grew up. As an Eagles fan, went to Timber Creek High School for those of you in the South Jersey area. Just look, you get a talented draft pick who's, top 10, top 15 on most people's boards, injury aside, just turned 21 years old, hometown kid, at a position of need with this kind of a locker room, this kind of a SEC filled, talented locker room. I mean, you really couldn't draw it up any better than that for Howie Roseman and the Eagles.
Yeah, and I thought it was really cool when they kind of did the close-up of him and his family hanging out. He was like, man, I get to play with Zach, meaning Zach Bond. And,
right.
Wait, what? Like, people are excited about the linebacker position in Philadelphia? What is happening here?
Goodness gracious! Like what team is this? Right? What team sign? What's this team that's
paying running backs and drafting linebackers?
They draft linebackers. They pay linebackers. They sign running backs. Like what team? Like what Eagles team is this? Like I don't recognize this team. It's not the team I grew up with.
Yeah, and this is, I guess, version 2.0 or 3.0 of Howie Roseman here, and he really has changed things, Roy. I mean, the things when they were drafting Danny Watkins and Marcus Smiths and Jalen Ragers and those kind of smartest guy in the room type of draft approaches, I always keep it simple, stupid. Just go to the SEC, shop where the best players are. And it's been working out great for them for 4 years now. And they continued with that formula last night.
Alabama and Georgia perennially in the college football playoffs, perennially at the top of the SEC. Go get the best players on the best teams. I mean, really, that really it doesn't get much simpler than that. Right? Like, these are guys who play against NFL talent just about every Saturday, right? And so if they play well against NFL talent, on that level, and put up numbers and make an impact, they're probably going to do that on the next level, right? So again, like let's not overcomplicate things. It can be very simple. It can be very simple to be a GM as we like to think of it, as we're doing our mock drafts, during the last 3 weeks. But I think it really can be. I mean, you see talented guys who played Alabama and Georgia and LSU. More likely than not, they're going to make an impact in the pros. I mean, we saw the Patriots do it for years, right? Like we saw the Patriots have a similar draft, strategy where they would just draft very productive guys from big time schools. Howie's done it the last 4 years, and you've seen these last 4 or 5 years of the Eagles drafts have been. I'll put them up against any team in the NFL.
Yeah, it really is. So last night, Zach Berman, Bo Wolf, and Fran Duffy gave you elite coverage, the best coverage in town. Here is Fran Duffy's kind of 50-second rundown of Jihaad Campbell, his kind of match with Vic Fangio and his style of play. If he's going to be a linebacker, is he going to be an edge rusher, what he is. Here's the great Fran Duffy breaking down Jihaad Campbell last night.
I love the play personality, his ability to come downhill and hit people in the mouth. He's going to fit this Vic Fangio scheme really, really well. Remember the defensive mentality. One of the reasons why that unit was so confident that they were going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl was that they were going to out-physical them. Jihaad Campbell's going to match that. So you talk about like the dog mentality aspect of things. First time since 1979, the Eagles have drafted a linebacker in the first round. I'm still coming to grips with that. But when I go back to my Jihaad Campbell, to his scouting report, his versatility is another thing that stands out. This was a guy that some people felt could be an edge rusher. This is he's also a Zach Bond type of comparison here because his first couple years at Alabama, he was an outside linebacker by trade and then made the move to off-ball linebacker midway through his career, took off, had an outstanding season this past year, first year in that new scheme, first team All-SEC, 117 tackles, 12 TFLs, 5 sacks. He's big. He's outstanding plays in pursuit. He's strong. He's powerful. He had 5 sacks this year, like I mentioned, but also I thought he showed some coverage chops as well. So similar to Bond in that way. He's not the same athlete as Bond, but I think that when you're looking at his ability to play in space is a little bit underrated in my mind. Never misses tackles is the other one. He had a 7% missed tackle rate over the course of his entire career. That's 90th percentile, 90 plus percentile amongst all linebackers drafted in the last decade. Jihaad Campbell is a fun player.
Woo, Roy! The no miss tackle rate of eliteness in linebacker, like that's music to an Eagles fan's ears right there.
No, yes, I looked up that number specifically. 7.3% missed tackle rate. I think it was one of the best in the nation. I think it was 5th among all players who've had like 180 tackles over the last few years. I think it was like 5th among all those guys. Like a guy with sideline to sideline range who can close out, play downhill, and just blow up a play in the backfield. I mean, again, like you said, that's music to all of our ears.
Yeah, and he can cover too, So in this new NFL with slot and tight ends, like the ability to possibly move up down the line if they need some edge rush help, to drop back, to kind of be that jackknife that can bring some versatility besides Zach Bond. And I think a lot of people's thoughts last night were like, poor Nakobe Dean. The reality of the situation is Nakobe Dean probably isn't going to be back until the second half of the season in any capacity to really help you. So it was a position of need. It wasn't a position I thought they were going to address in the first round, but this is a position, Jeremiah Trotter last year, or junior, was probably a depth type of pick. Sure. You have some pieces you feel good about in that second string, but as a first string guy, there was an obvious need there. And maybe in hindsight, it's something we should have thought more about going into draft round one. But again, it's been since 1979. So I don't think many people expected it.
Yeah, I think we're still on that high, the Super Bowl high, where we're not kind of breaking down
how
long it takes guys to recover from patellar tendon injuries, right? So like Nakobe will be back and we'll be fine. But you're right, like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. probably a depth guy. Orrin Burks, Brett Van Summer, and they're probably depth guys as well. Like those aren't guys you want to put out there for 50, 55 plays a game. So we probably should have thought more of a guy like Jihaad Campbell, but like you said, we didn't think he was going to be there, right? Like we're picking 32. He's a top 10, top 15, top 20 talent at worst. So we didn't think he was going to be there, and the talent at linebacker probably drops off a little bit, after Campbell. So we're like, all right, well, let's go D tackle. We know we need D tackles, right? We know we need edge rushers. We know we need a D tackle. Probably need to get some depth on the offensive line. So that's probably where most Eagles fans' brains were we're going before the draft. But when a guy like that drops to the 20s and 25, 30, Howie Roseman gets on the phone and says, look, we got to fill our needs. So there you have it.
Yeah. So how are you with injured players falling? Have the Eagles kind of gotten to a place where you implicitly trust their, I don't want to put it all on the medical team, but trust their research and evaluation of injured players falling? It's burned them in the past when you look at like a Sidney Jones. I'm all for a player that drops because of injuries, because I always believe in modern science and medicine that, the best outcome will be the possibility, but there is the possibility a Sidney Jones never kind of fully returns to who he was. Sure. Are you at a point where you love the fallen injured player, where you trust them, or are you one of those guys that's like, it's a little risky, a little too risky for my blood?
For me, it really kind of depends on the injury and injury history. Like shoulders and things, like I can deal with shoulders and elbows and things like that.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Like it's not mine, right? It's not our shoulder, right?
A labrum? Yeah, labrum, whatever.
Labrum, fine, whatever. Yeah, so like a torn labrum, whatever like that. Like I can deal with that. If a guy had like a perennial injuries with his knee, like multiple ACL tears or something, that's a little bit of a different story. Where I'd be a little
like Will Johnson, you're seeing is just plummeting because he had the knee issue that people believe is a long-term thing that's going to hurt him.
Yeah, so like a guy like Will Johnson, again, he's super talented. Like I probably, he would be on my board at 32, but I'd have more concerns about him than a guy like Campbell, again, who has, the shoulder, surgery that he just had after the combine, and then that kind of vague knee injury that we've heard about. To me, that doesn't sound like, like something that I would take him off the board or slide him down the board too far for.
Yeah. Well, coming up, it is rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL draft. I think Eagles fans, most of the grades we saw, whether on social media or on YouTube last night, well, I think the worst grade I saw was an A-. So people seem really excited about this. There is a big night ahead tonight. And coming up, Zach, Bo, and Fran broke down those best available players they think for the Eagles' needs today. So we're going to share that with you coming up. But first, we just got to take a quick moment to tell you about some of our friends here at PHLY. Now, I can't actually technically drink this delicious beer right in my hand right now, but I can show it to you. I was out at JD McGillicuddy's last night in Manayunk, Pabst Light. That's right. The great beer, PBR, that's been around forever. Well, now they have a new, perfect for summer beer in Pabst Light. It's delicious, it's refreshing, and it's only 96 calories, which is what you're looking for. It's pool and beach season. You want to be out there not getting weighed down by those heavy beers. And Pabst Light is that new light modern beer from Pabst Brewing Company. 96 calories, only 3.5 grams of carbs, and a crisp, refreshing flavor. They use high-quality ingredients so you can get that high-quality beer at a smart, approachable price. And it retains the fun and independent spirit of Pabst that they're known for with their new Pabst Light. Learn more about Pabst Light at PabstLight.com. And please drink responsibly. Must be 21 or older. And enjoy responsibly. Next, I'll tell you about our friends over at Bet365. Because whatever the moment, like the NFL draft, it's never ordinary at Bet365. There's over 90 million users worldwide. They stream over 780,000 events every single year, and they have the best early payout offers across the NBA and NHL. Right now, it's playoff season for those two leagues, And if you hit the criteria in each league, boom, you don't even have to wait for the end of the game. You'll just get cashed out right then and there on the spot. Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for betting across 78 different sports. We talked about the early payout offers. Well, if your team goes up 3 goals in the NHL, boom, you'll get cashed out. NBA, they go up by 20, boom, cashed out right then and there on the spot. So open an account with Bet365, and new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. Sign up and use that code PHLY365. Deposit $10. Place a bet for $5 to get those $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, this is the PHLY Eagles podcast. We are not your normal PHLY Eagles cast here, as Zach, Bo, and Fran hopefully got a little bit of sleep today. They will be back tonight, Roy, at 6:30, kicking off draft coverage for rounds 2 and 3. So really looking forward to the guys tonight. They did a tremendous job last night. Now, when it comes to linebacker versus edge here, Roy, what do you think is most likely? Howie Roseman last night did, in his press conference, allude to a Micah Parsons, to these guys that started strong, then moved to off-ball, then got worked in at the edge. Do you think this is a slow transformation to him becoming an edge rusher for the Eagles, or do you think he's going to be a linebacker that's versatile and all over the field?
Yeah, I think it's probably the former. I think we're going to see that because, again, they mentioned his name quite a bit. Micah Parsons' name quite a bit last night, and
it's a good name,
which is a very good name. And Jihaad Campbell, they asked Jihaad Campbell, what are you going to be? And he said he's going to be a quote dominant force, right? So, again, that to me kind of says that you're going to be a Micah Parsons type of guy, on the edge. But I think just to kind of get back to our original discussion about Nakobe Dean, I think he's probably just going to play that Nakobe Dean role initially. I think he's just going to be that role where he's the off-ball linebacker, a nice pairing with Zach Bowen, who's the better coverage linebacker, and then we'll kind of gradually become that edge rusher, and maybe be the guy we thought maybe Bryce Huff was going to be when he signed here. So I think in a couple of years, I think that's the Jihaad Campbell we'll get, but initially I think he's going to be Keely Ringo Nakobe Dean replacement until Dean's healthy.
You're getting your Georgia Bulldogs mixed up. There's so many of them. It's easy to do. Yeah, now we got a Crimson Tide thrown in there. But it was very cool to see, the Eagles repurposed. I'm a sucker. I'm like Zach Berman. When the local kids, like I have an affinity, like Abdul Carter went to my high school. So that was a gross moment for me last night to see him. Happy for Abdul. Gross to see him in Giants gear.
He'll be here in 5 years. He'll be here in 5 years.
I'm a sucker for the local kids, and seeing the Eagles repurpose an old tweet for him when they drafted Devontae Smith, and he said, "This is exactly what we needed."
What we need, right?
Yeah. And I was like, that is beautiful, man. That is just awesome. He's always been one of us.
Yeah, well, so you got to love it, right? And it's like the same thing with Micah Parsons, right? Like Micah Parsons, he wants to be here. Eagles. He's been flirting with the Eagles for years, right? Like it's like, come on, man. Like just you swiped on us on Tinder, right? Like we're all like let's just talk. Let's just make the connection, right? Like you've been dancing around this all this time. Let's make the connection. You, Jihaad Campbell, Zach Bowen, we can have the best linebacker core in the NFL. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. And before we get to the preview of day 2 and 3, the one thing internally in that building, Roy, last night, Ian Rappaport comes out and says that the Eagles were trying to move up to pick 22 with the Chargers to get Jihaad Campbell. An hour and a half later, they get him at 31. Can you imagine I don't want to call it an overpay, but how much more you would have had to have paid to go get him at 22 and then you get him at 31? Internally, they have to be pretty stoked about what happened.
Yeah, they wanted to get a trade with the Chargers at 22, and then apparently they were trying to trade up to 23 and 24 to get him as well. To be able to get the guy that you want, like you said, an hour and a half later, and only give up, the pick that you got back for Kenny Pickett, right? Like that's a really shrewd move out of Howie Roseman. Again, everybody says it. We see it tweeted on all the time on X or Twitter or whatever you call it. It's Howie season, right? Like this time of the year, it's Howie season, and you just got to give the man his kudos.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's play for you. Last night after the draft, they burned the midnight oil. Bo Wolf, I believe Zach was already in transit down to the NovaCare when this happened, or was at NovaCare, but Bo and Fran previewed rounds 2 and 3 today, or tonight, I should say, and what might be a fit for the Eagles, where their eyes may be headed. Let's watch Bo and Fran's breakdown of tonight. This is where I get to put the words in Bo's mouth. He gets to be my puppet. So right now he's talking about how much he admires Zach and he appreciates Zach and he just loves Zach. But hopefully we'll get that sorted out here any moment. Now he's talking about, Fran, you should really show your thighs off if you want to sell some diehard memberships. He's like, you got to lift that pant leg.
I thought he was talking about how much he appreciates you.
Yeah, we'll go with that. All right, we'll take a pause on that until we figure out the audio issue there. It worked in pre-show, we tried it out, and things happen in live broadcast, Roy. But tonight, do you have a guy? Look, because of last night, I think there's, by most experts' opinion, including our own Fran Duffy's, towards the end of the second round, there tends to be like a little bit of a drop-off. This wasn't the deepest draft in history. So I kind of always thought they were intrigued by the idea of moving up. And by the fact that they wanted to get to 22 last night and thus save some assets getting the player they wanted at 31, plus, the slew of draft picks they have over the next 2 years,
right.
I think they're in a prime position tonight to go up and get somebody that they really like, whether that's a Luther Burden from Missouri or a Donovan Ezeraku, another local South Jersey kid, or Mike Green. I know there's some DV allegations there, which they might avoid. But those type of players who maybe had that late first-round grade that are hanging around, early to mid-second, I'm really
using their first-round pick.
Oh, let's check back in with the guys, and then we can continue this conversation. But I think the Eagles are kind of prime a little bit, Roy, to move up in round 2. But let's listen to Bo Wolf and Fran Duffy break down rounds 2 and 3.
On Alabama's Jihaad Campbell, the Eagles have 2 picks on day 2, number 64 in the second round, number 96 in the third round. And we're here with ALLCITY's NFL draft expert, Fran Duffy, to talk about who they might be focused on in round 2. And Fran, I believe that the Eagles are going to be potentially aggressive in moving up in round 2, and there are a lot of players who could fit the type of player that they want to add to this team. Let's talk about tight end first, and there are 2 guys who make sense here. Mason Taylor from LSU, who got a lot of first-round buzz and could be going early in the round, and then Elijah Arroyo from Miami, a little bit more explosive, a player that you like a lot. Both of them seem like potential fits for the Eagles.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to the conversation of, floor versus ceiling and safe versus risky. I think when you're looking at Arroyo, only 1 year of real production over the course of his time in Miami, only had 11 catches entering the 2024 season, then became one of the most explosive threats at the position in the entire college football landscape. And when you're looking at his game, it's really about being that mismatch type, move him around the formation. He's got the ability to route up safeties. He's too athletic for linebackers, too big for defensive backs. He can create after the catch with the ball in his hands, and he also can be a proven vertical threat down the seam, down the field, lining up for multiple alignments. So I like what I've seen from Elijah Arroyo. And then when you're looking at Mason Taylor, he's not quite as dynamic as Arroyo, but he, I would say, is a little bit more consistent at the catch point, a little bit more refined as a route runner, and then as a blocker was asked to do more traditional things as well. Both of them, honestly, I might give Arroyo the edge as a blocker.
Interesting.
But I think that when you're looking at, like hand in the dirt, he's done a little bit more. He's also got 3 years of starting experience, has never really missed any time, whereas Arroyo has a history of knee injuries. So there's, again, you started getting into the different complicating factors when it comes to Arroyo's projection.
If you're new to Mason Taylor, he's the son of the Hall of Famer Jason Taylor.
Yep.
To me, the difference between these guys is almost, if you want a tight end, you get Mason Taylor. if you want a dynamic threat to add to the offense, you go for Elijah Arroyo.
I think that's fair. I think both guys are probably better pass catchers than blockers. Both, honestly, like, I think Arroyo's a better blocker. I think he checks the box there. Whereas I think with Taylor, it's a little bit more of a work in progress. But yeah, I think with both, you're going to work around them a little bit in the run game early on.
Now, the offensive line in the second round, it sort of thins out a little bit, given the guys who went in the first round. There aren't a ton of guys who I think the Eagles will love in the second round. They've brought in a few players who were sort of third-round guys for visits, Charles Grant, Anthony Belton. But in terms of second-round guys, you've got Arizona's Jonah Savaiinaea, but I think Minnesota's Ariante Ursary is probably the one guy I could see them potentially being really interested in.
Yeah, I penciled him as a potential Eagles fit early on in the process. You talk about size. He's 6'6". He's north of 200 or 320 pounds. He's got unique athleticism for a guy that big, real explosive traits, was late to football in high school. So, still a little bit green, a little bit unrefined. Played a lot of ball at Minnesota, and so he got plenty of experience under his belt playing in the Big Ten. But you can see that he can get a little bit grabby at times in pass protection. He's a better run blocker right now than pass protector. The change of direction stuff, he can get a little bit clunky. But when I look at his height, weight, speed, the physical traits there, I think that's something that Jeff Stoutland has proven that he can work with. He's only really played tackle with Minnesota, but I think he's got the body type to be able to play guard. The game does move a little bit faster when you slide in closer to the ball, so you worry about that a little bit. But again, for a day 2 pick, I think that's a fine dart to try and throw with Ariante Ursary and try and project him as a future starter in this scheme.
You think he could step in week 1, be the starting right guard?
I think he could compete. It would be a new position for him.
Yeah.
So my guess is I would probably give Tyler Steen and Kenyon Green the leg up there going into that competition, but he certainly could compete for it.
Now, I think that the deepest group in the second round here is the edge guys.
I agree.
And it's complicated by the fact that the Eagles are saying that Jihaad Campbell might be an edge for them, so they may not need one here. But I'm going to throw 6 names at you. You pick 2 who you think make the most sense for the Eagles. So you've got Marshall's Mike Green, UCLA's Oluwafemi Oladejo, who the Eagles brought in for a pre-draft visit, Ohio State's JT Tuimoloau, Boston College's Donovan Ezaraku, who they brought in for a pre-draft visit, Texas A&M's Nick Scorton, who they brought in for a pre-draft visit, and Arkansas's Landon Jackson, who you like a lot. Who of those 6, give me 2 who you think make the most sense for the Eagles?
Yeah, it's tough because a number of those guys I felt had a good chance to go on Thursday night in round 1 of this draft. And so when I'm looking at that group, who's got the best chance at falling? I think they could go in a variety of orders here, but I would look at Tuimoloau from Ohio State. This is a 3-year starter, former #1 recruit, 5-star kid coming out of high school.
I'm going to struggle with that name, Roy.
As a power rusher off the edge, push the pocket.
This draft has a lot of those kind of names.
With technique. I thought he really took a step this past season in terms of his overall pass rush plan, reached double-digit sacks for the first time in his career, and obviously was a big part of that national champion Buckeye team. And then I think you're going to look at Nick Scorton. This is a player that I thought had a chance to go late in round 1, led the Big Ten in sacks in 2023 as a 19-year-old, put on 15, 20 pounds, transferred to Texas A&M this past season. The production dipped a little bit, didn't look quite as dynamic off the ball when he added that weight, but cut the weight back. And now I think you're looking at a guy who's 265 pounds, has that ability to kind of replenish and get back to what he was as a true sophomore in the Big Ten at Purdue. To me, I think the arrow is still pointing up. He doesn't turn 21 until later this summer. So when you're looking at Nick Scorton and JT Tuimoloau, 2 guys that have had a lot of production over the course of their careers.
At defensive tackle, Milton Williams is gone. This position group has thinned out a little bit, but 2 players with sort of second-round grades that you like a little bit, who the Eagles have both brought in for pre-draft visits. TJ Sanders from South Carolina, Shamar Turner from Texas A&M. Who do you like better of those 2 guys? Let's talk about both of them.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of the same profile with both.
Interesting.
I think where you're looking more of them as the traditional 3-technique tackle, the guy that's going to win upfield, first step quickness, play 100 miles an hour. Yeah, I really like what I've seen from both on film. I think I liked Milton Williams a little bit more coming out because I thought
loved Milton Williams.
I loved Milton Williams. Milton Williams was, I think, a top 30 player, top 35 player for me when he came out a few years ago. I thought Milton showed a little bit more in the run game than what these guys bring. That said, I think that they both have that disruptive ability against the pass, and they play really hard. So I think that you can coach some things into them when it comes to the run game, and there are certainly tools to work with. I think when you're looking at Shamar Turner, He dealt with an injury this past year. He had reportedly had a rod inserted into his foot back in August.
Ow.
And so, yeah, it was not ideal, but he played through it and just has been dealing with it throughout the course of the pre-draft process. So he missed the Senior Bowl, didn't work out at the Combine for that reason. And when you're looking at TJ Sanders, he's a guy that was getting some first-round buzz coming out of the season. It was a really good South Carolina defensive line. Again, both guys, more of your traditional 3 technique, gap shooting types at the position.
All right, last one to ask you about is the secondary, where the Eagles are pretty loaded, but they don't have a safety who's necessarily penned in to start alongside Reed Blankenship. Might be Sidney Brown, but they could add some competition there. And there are some good cornerbacks still available. I'm going to throw 4 secondary names at you. You pick one to tell me why you think the Eagles might be interested. Let's go Trey Amos, the Ole Miss corner, who the Eagles brought in for a pre-draft visit. Nick Eamon-Worry, the South Carolina safety, who lots of people thought might go in the first round. Jonas Sanker, the safety from Virginia. Xavier Watts, the safety from Notre Dame.
Yeah, I want to first talk about Jonas Sanker. This is a player that I am certainly higher on, I think, than most in the media. I see a really good starter moving forward into the NFL. Maybe not a true Pro Bowl player, but I think a guy that's got that ability to just check every box and be a very reliable player on the back end of a defense. He can run the alley as a top-down player, meaning that he can play from depth and approach the line of scrimmage, take good angles, and finish one-on-one as a tackler. He can finish on the ball in the air. I think his zone instincts are very good. I think he's got the ability to match up in the slot as well against tight ends at times if you need him to. But to me, when I look at Sanker, again, you're just checking all the boxes. Reportedly a very good kid off the field as well. And I think, to me, Trey Amos probably has the best chance in terms of getting into striking distance. But look, Nick Eamon-Worry is an outstanding player, one of my favorite players in this class. I thought he had Pro Bowl potential at South Carolina. I'm surprised he's still on the board. I can't imagine he gets into striking distance for the Eagles. Amos is a 5th-year senior, began his career at Louisiana. And I remember being at the Combine a few years ago and some of his former Louisiana teammates saying, this kid Amos is going to be an NFL player down the road. He gets it. He's a professional. He showed up and was a great worker right away, great practice habits, and became a really good player at Louisiana. Enters the transfer portal, goes to Alabama, gets stuck as a backup behind Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terrion Arnold, who are both the top 50 picks in the 2024 NFL draft, 2 guys that went high. Nick Saban leaves. He goes back into the portal, goes to Ole Miss, and has his best season. So when you're looking at Trey Amos, he started off as a starter, became a backup at Alabama, became a big-time SEC player as a 5th-year player for the Ole Miss Rebels. I love his zone instincts. He's competitive. I was worried about what he was going to run at the Combine. He ends up running low 4.4, so he checked the box there. Outside of the speed, I didn't really have any questions on tape, so I liked the player on film a lot with Trey Amos.
All right, well, after adding Jihaad Campbell, do the Eagles double down on defense to add to the best defense in football, or do they bounce back to the offense? We will find out on Friday night, and we will be live throughout the draft starting at 6:30 p.m. until the end of the 3rd round with Fran Duffy and Zach Berman. I'm Bo Wolf. Check it all out on Friday night.
There it is. Tremendous breakdown from one of the best in the country there in Mr. Fran Duffy. His analysis is awesome. Now, Roy, after digesting that, I was just telling you before we started playing that, I think they're primed for a trade up because there's that, late 2nd round drop off. You have 20 picks over the next 2 years. Are you really going to add? Do you really need to add 20 players? Probably not. They have a couple bullets in the chamber there. They have Dallas Goedert. We'll see what happens with him if he's post June 1st, if he gets traded this weekend. Still completely up in the air. But of the names that Fran and Bo just batted around there, and there's one that they didn't mention, which would be a real trade up, and that's Nick Eamon-Worry, the safety from South Carolina. But of the guys they mentioned, I'm totally cool with D-line. I'd love Mason Taylor or Arroyo. You don't have to trade up as high to get those, but I'd love to see that tight end replacement plan in place. I'm cool with the safety. I'm always cool with the trenches. So I'm basically a long way of saying I'm cool with a lot tonight, but I would love to see an aggressive trade up to go target and get a guy you really like.
Yeah, I just don't know how much that how much capital you have to give up to move up. Because again, you have the last because you won the Super Bowl. So when you go up from 64 to 40, right? What does that cost you, right? Probably cost you a pretty decent amount, but like you said, you have 12 picks in next year's draft, right? You have, 5 picks in the top 3 first 3 rounds. You have 3 third rounders, so maybe you can kind of package one of them up, with your 2nd rounder and move up. I'm just I don't know. I'm gonna be a little bit pessimistic right now. I don't think they trade up, and I don't think they have to trade up because I think there's going to be some pretty good value there at 64 in that range for them to pick, like some of the guys that they mentioned. Like, you know, the last few weeks when I was doing my Howie Roseman cosplay and doing my fake drafts, you know, all my fake drafts.
It's fun.
Nick Scorton was the guy who always fell to me in the bottom of the second round. Like the guy from Texas A&M, the edge rusher. He would fall to me, and you know, after I drafted Walter Nolan in the first round, Nick Scorton would come to me in the second round, and like they mentioned, he came in on a top 30 visit. You know, 6'3", 257, very productive a couple of years ago before he put on all that weight. So I think he's going to be a really good edge rusher in this league. And I think Scorton and you know, Jihaad Campbell, I think that's a really good haul for the first two picks of the draft.
Yeah. So some guys, you mentioned those pre-draft visits, and Zach Berman has a piece up about how important they are to the Eagles. I mean, they're important to every team, but the Eagles do draft a high percentage of the guys they bring in. Some guys that they did bring in here that are projected in the second round. One of them is Donovan Ezeraku, the BC edge player from South Jersey. Remaining players they brought in, Connor Lee Jr. Oh, Connor Lee went. Trey Amos, who Fran just talked about. Donovan Jackson, Nick Scorton, who you just talked about. Tyleek Williams, and TJ Sanders. Those are all guys with second round kind of projections here that the Eagles did bring in on those pre-draft visits.
Yeah, I'm a big TJ Sanders fan as well. So yeah, so TJ Sanders will probably be TJ Sanders and Nick Scorton would probably be my top two guys who I think can be there at 64 when the Eagles pick. But like you're saying, like, you know, I think we're in a good spot where I think we're going to wind up with a good player, you know, whether it's those guys or whether if they, you know, go the tight end route. Again, if they wind up with Mason Taylor, who some had, and I think McShay had at the bottom of the first round, mock to the Eagles. So if you get a Mason Taylor, you know, with that second round pick, again, that's still a win. I mean, it seems, you know, like, again, like before the draft, if I told you, you know, they'd go off-ball linebacker and tight end with the first two picks, that's probably not what you would have guessed, but we're still okay with it, right? We'd still be fine with it. Absolutely.
I told you I'm a sucker for the local kids. The other thing I'm a sucker for is bloodlines, Roy. Mason Taylor.
It's got the good bloodline.
Dad's a Hall of Famer. You know, it worked so well for us with Casey Matthews. We might as well run it back here with Mason Taylor. So I'd be totally cool with Mason Taylor today.
Yeah, no, Mason Taylor again. Like, well, I think who was it? It was one of the basketball guys. I forget who it was. CBS guys. But basically, like he says, you can't get away from the DNA, right? Like
yeah.
especially when it comes to football, it seems like it works. Maybe it doesn't quite work, you know, for a guy we'll talk about later who didn't get drafted in the first round. But it seems like it works a lot of times for other guys in the other positions.
He's got Canton DNA in there, so I'm cool with taking him in the second round. All right, we'll continue talking about the rest of the draft that happened and tonight that's ahead, but we got to take another quick little moment to tell you about our friends here at PHLY. And that's our friends at Parks Casino. Parks Casino is awesome. It's right there off Street Road in Bensalem. It's easy to get to from everywhere. And the Excite Center at Parks Casino is one of the many things I love about my casino of choice. Parks Casino is Pennsylvania's #1 casino, and it's so close to Philadelphia, located in Bensalem, right there off the Street Road exit on 95 and the Turnpike. And the Excite Center is the state-of-the-art entertainment venue located inside Parks Casino. Named one of the best places to see the country's best comedians and music headliners. One of my guys, Gary Clark Jr., is doing a show there in a couple weeks, and I'd love to get out to Parks Excite Center to check out that show. Visit parkscasino.com to buy tickets for all shows, pregame their shows at their amazing all-season beer garden. You can play some pop culture slots, roulette, cards, and other table games while you wait. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Must be 21 and over. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And this is something I sent to some friends of mine yesterday because furniture, nobody really enjoys shopping for furniture. Well, with our friends over at Ashley Furniture right now, we're giving you an amazing opportunity to take advantage of a great giveaway. Who doesn't love a free sectional plus $1,000 gift card to bring your dream fan cave to life? They're giving away a Mod Max sectional. It's spacious and it's built for diehard sports fans. Whether you're hosting movie night, kicking back with the family, or most importantly, settling in for a Birds game day, this sectional is the upgrade your space needs. And entering is easy. Just head to allphly.com/Ashley to learn about the contest, see if you're eligible, fill out your info, and you're in the running. But don't wait. These sweepstakes aren't lasting forever. Get your entry in now, and you could be watching the next big game on a brand new Mod Max sectional, courtesy of Ashley Furniture. Mod Max Modular Sectional by Ashley, in your choice of color, configuration, up to 5 pieces, and you must reside within the local delivery area to qualify for the Fan Cave giveaway. Again, just go to allphly.com/Ashley for the full contest information and eligibility requirements. Terms and conditions apply. All right, welcome back in here to the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by our friends over at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Find out why you should have a credit union in your corner and visit TrueMark Financial today. All right, Roy, I got to toot our own horn here at PHLY momentarily because not only was the show terrific last night, but we launched something new this year for diehards. And if you're not a diehard with us at PHLY, you should really consider becoming one because Sunday the sale ends. We're doing a little bit of a draft introductory offer right now, $36 a year, less than $3 a month. Can get you full access to all of our writers, to Fran Duffy's Mind, discounts on events, invites to our Discord, tons of great stuff, merch, all that. $36 a year. It's a no-brainer. Now, let me show you the draft hub we have right now. I want this to be your homepage tonight for the NFL draft. It was awesome last night. So you get the live stream of the show right there at the top of the page. And boom, you don't have to go anywhere else because right there on the right, you see the upcoming picks of the draft, a live updated ticker in the moment. Then right below that, you get Fran Duffy's best available. Screw Mel Kiper. He's been doing this for years. Look at Fran Duffy's best available.
Who the hell is Mel Kiper?
You get the draft results on the side. There's the full first round. That'll be getting updated with the second round picks. And then to the right of that, you see the Eagles' remaining picks. If you click on those players, you can get their scouting reports, their college highlights. You can deep dive the draft in the best possible nerd fashion you want right here on our hub. It's right there on the homepage. Just go to the NFL Draft Day Headquarters tab. It's for diehards. You should become a diehard if you aren't already, so you get access to this and all the great stuff. But there it is, Roy. It's a beauty. A lot of hard work was put into this site, and the Eagles beat is just killing it. So I wanted to show that off and tell people they should make that their headquarters tonight online for Eagles draft coverage.
Yeah, no, it's a very cool site. I was on there last night. I got the email, I think right before the draft, the email went out about the draft headquarters. So, and usually I'm a creature of habit, right? I usually go to the Florida Network site, because they have the best available, all that good stuff. But everything is literally right there. Like you have like the live, YouTube feed. You have best available players. You have who the Eagles picked, and they have on the bottom left. You have it broken out by division. Like what players got picked by division, so you can see which teams picked who, in the NFC East or AFC West or something like that. It's a really amazing site. Again, this is not a paid advertisement. It's a really cool site. And if you're a draft pick like me, if you're a draft pick like me who usually has like 8 different tabs open, you don't need all that. You can just go to one site and get all the information you need.
So that will be happening at 6:30 tonight. And the other cool thing tonight, we're going to be running back. The guys got to announce it last night. But all of us here at ALLCITY across our 5 markets announced a 3-year partnership, Roy, with the Big Brothers, Big Sisters of America Foundation. We're going to be doing some fundraisers for them. We're going to be helping people become big brothers. Zach Berman's been a big brother in the past. He's going to do it again. I toyed with it in the past. I'm hoping it's something I can do in the near future. So it's a great cause, a great foundation, and we're super pumped to have teamed up with Big Brothers Big Sisters here at ALLCITY. And Marcus Allen, their local chapter head, is going to be in tonight, kicking off draft night with us before the round actually starts to talk more about that partnership. And we're so excited here about that to make it our official charity here at PHLY.
Also, yeah, Big Brothers Big Sisters, a very awesome charity. So kudos to everybody, the All City Network, for being involved in that. And again, anything I can do as part of that, I'm more than happy to do so as well.
Love it. All right. So tonight is also round 3. We talked a lot about round 2 there, Roy, but some other names that have been in to visit the Eagles on pre-draft visits that are projected in round 3. You have Oladejo, the edge from UCLA, Marcus Imbo, an offensive lineman from Purdue, Shamar Turner, who Fran talked about a little bit ago, the other Texas A&M defensive lineman. Kevin Winston Jr., the safety from Penn State. I watch a lot of Penn State football, and whether it's Kobe King or Kevin Winston Jr., I like both those kids. So those could be some round 3 guys they take a look at. Charles Grant from William and Mary, Wyatt Milam from West Virginia, Charles Grant, or I just said Jacob Parrish, and Anthony Belton are some guys that came in for pre-draft visits that have that round 3 kind of projection. So some names to keep an eye on because they do like selecting guys they bring in for pre-draft visits.
Yeah, sure. Like the 2 guys who, for me, that stick out are the 2 offensive linemen, the tackles, the Marcus Embo from Purdue and Charles Grant from William and Mary. Again, both came in 30 visit, both have 3rd-round grades. Both have really good size and very good athleticism. Embo was all Big 12, I believe, in 2024. Those are really good guys, really good, I want to say developmental guys, but I mean, they're really good guys who you can put into your program. And again, they can be ready, whenever you need them to step in for Elaine Johnson or whatever have you. So out of the guys that you listed on that, the top 30 guys, and I think they'll probably draft 1 or 2 of those guys this weekend. I think those 2 guys are the ones that stick out for me, and hopefully one of them is an Eagle by the end of tonight.
Yeah. So your thoughts on Dallas Goedert? Because I see the chat right now is talking a lot about Dallas Goedert. Is he an Eagle come Sunday morning?
I think
what's your gut tell you?
I think somebody in the chat, I want to give credit. Presidential Mike, I think, was the first one to say it in the chat. I think the Michael Mayer thing makes too much sense, right? Trading, getting Michael Mayer from the Raiders. And then figuring out, a new home for Dallas Goedert. I think by the end of the weekend, I think that's what's going to happen. I think it just makes a lot of sense because, again, like Dallas Goedert's not going to be an Eagle next year. I think we all know.
It doesn't feel like it. Yeah.
Right. But the Kyle Gransons and everybody they brought in, they're not going to be your tight end ones either, right? So I think you probably are going to draft a tight end at some point this weekend, and you probably want to trade for a guy who has tight end 1 experience in the league. So I think Michael Mayer is an Eagle by the end of the weekend. I think Dallas Goedert is not. And I think, one of the tight ends that we mentioned before, maybe even a guy like a Harold Fannin might be a new Eagle by the end of Saturday.
Our man here at PHLY, Tyler Zulli, has been Harold Fanning up since like week 3 of the college football season. He's been his guy forever. Yeah. And he does make a lot of sense because the new passing game coordinator the Eagles just brought in comes from Bowling Green. So he has direct knowledge, inside track on Harold Fanning. So that's definitely a name. I would imagine he's worst case round 4, probably a round 3 worst type case of kid.
Right.
Yeah, but I really would like to see a tight end added here tonight. Whether it's Arroyo, whether it's Taylor, whether it's Fanning, I do want to see that Goedert replacement plan in place because you saw how well it worked for Goedert when Ertz was here. So I kind of want to – I don't want uncertainty at the tight end position.
So let me again, I've done it for weeks again on my own, my Howie Roseman cosplay. Let me turn it over to you. Jamie Lynch, you have the keys tonight to the Eagles kingdom. You have, the arsenal of picks this year, next year. What would you do, reasonably? What would you do with these picks, tonight?
See, I'm a bit of a gambler. I would trade up and go get one of these. Whoever's top 25 graded left on their board, whether it's Ezra Roku or Mike Green or Emmanuel Worry or Mason Taylor, I would spend some of my capital and go get because you're so young. The pipeline is so sustainable here for a window. If you bring in 2 guys that you can add to that foundation as opposed to a pick 64, I don't want to call them a gamble, but you know what I mean? Like not one of the guys you have on your top 25 or 30 board. I just think they're in prime position to do it. So I would go get whoever that guy is. Me personally, Emmanuel's athleticism, because I did the secondary data input when Fran was at the combine, and Emmanuel's athleticism is just like eye-poppingly good. So he looks the part. He's big. He's fast. He can go sideline to sideline. You need a safety. CJ was a big role on this team, and you mentioned it earlier. Eagles fans are kind of in this state of like, hey, whatever. We won the Super Bowl. Everything's good. I trust Howie. I trust him. Like, I do want to see another safety back there with Reed Blankenship. I like Sidney Brown a little bit, but he's got to earn it. I like McCollum a little bit, but he's got to earn it. So I want to see more competition at the safety spot. So I really want to see a safety and tight end tonight is kind of where I'm at. But if they go D-line, totally fine with that too.
Yeah, you raise a good point because, again, like there are physically guys here who you've seen do decent things, but you're not overly, over the moon about, right? Like, you're not over the moon about Sidney Brown. You're not over the moon about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. You're not over the moon about Moro Ojomo. I mean, I'm sure they'll be fine, but if you have, a bunch of capital that you can spend, especially, again, 12 picks in next year's draft, and you have a pretty decent young roster, and your skill position players by and large are locked up for years, right? So like, you're not really in a salary cap crunch as far as that goes. So you have the ability to kind of package some of these picks, because again, you're not dying to replace your wide receiver 2 next year, right? Like, you're not dying to replace Cam Jurgens, because like Cam Jurgens is locked up. So you're in a position where you can use that future capital on a move to get a top guy. So you sold me a little bit. I can't lie. You sold me a little bit on some of this stuff. I would not be opposed on using some of next year's picks to move up to, let's say, 36, 37, 40 to get one of those.
It'd be fun. Let's party. Randy Rubart in the chat says Justin Simmons is going to be the other safety. Just waiting till after the draft, so there's no comp pick owed. Justin Simmons is out there. He's thirsty to be in Philadelphia. He's flirting.
If Micah Parsons is flirting, this man is full. Like, he swiped right like 18 like months ago. Like, brother, bro, just come on, man. Just come on down. Like, it's fine. Like, we don't even date. We don't need a date. All right, we don't even need a date.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Yeah,
come on.
He's like Vic, come and get me. Basically, he's not hiding from it. He's not the same player he was, but I wouldn't hate it at all. All right, now, Roy, do they Eagles shock the world tonight and do exactly what they did to Carson Wentz and go out there and get their Jalen Hurts backup quarterback and take Shedeur Sanders? It's probably not going to happen.
They do not take Shedeur Sanders. I don't think they take
it would be damn good content, wouldn't it?
Oh, amazing content. We'd have amazing content for weeks here at PHLY. Yeah, no Shedeur Sanders. I don't even think Jalen Milroe is going to be Eagle by the end of the night. So for those of you who want drama, for those of you who want content, that's not the way we're going to get it. I'm sorry.
So Baldy was on with Anthony this morning. I just made that joke to transition to Shedeur Sanders' conversation. He is going to be the focus of the draft broadcast tonight.
Sure.
They showed him a tremendous amount last night at his house, and Gilly the Kid was in there, and Prime, and everybody. Baldy said to Anthony this morning he kind of believes that Shedeur possibly could last until round 3, and that Tyler Show and Jalen Milroe perhaps could be drafted ahead of Shedeur.
Wow. I don't see that. Like, I can't see it. I mean, Jamie, I'll ask you, you watched a fair amount of college football last year. Like, watching the college football that I saw last year, Shedeur Sanders is a better quarterback than Jalen Milroe. I can't imagine. I can't imagine any team having Milroe higher on their board than Shedeur Sanders. Like, I just don't get it. Like, if you're worried about his arm strength or whatever like that, fine, whatever have you. He's just a better quarterback. He's a really talented guy. Like, number 1 on Mel Kiper's board. Again, who the hell is Mel Kiper Jr.? But he's been doing it.
He's no Fran Duffy.
Right? He's been doing it for a while. Like Shedeur's a really good quarterback. He's again may not have a first round grade, but I can't imagine a world where again some team can literally say this guy, Shedeur Sanders, has a worse grade as a quarterback than Jalen Milroe. I just can't see it.
Yeah. Fran and Bo talked about this last night. It would seem as though, because Cleveland and Chicago both have 2 picks early here in the second,
right?
They were debating Cleveland. It seems like an obvious place for them to take him because their quarterback situation is an absolute disaster. But they made that trade yesterday to kind of prepare themselves with ammo for next year's quarterback class, because Roy, I can't remember a first round where only one quarterback was taken. I'm sure it's happened before, but this is an odd quarterback draft year. So I don't know if Cleveland makes sense if they're gearing up for next year's quarterback class, but certainly maybe a New Orleans takes a shot on Shedeur, maybe a Las Vegas. I believe Tom Brady and Shedeur have a good relationship and they like each other, so maybe he pushes for him. I do think he'll go in round 2 tonight, but it's certainly the storyline of the evening here.
Sure, and I don't think Cleveland's going to make that move. I agree. Like, I don't think they're going to make that trade. But I think, to me, I think all signs point to the Raiders. I think the Raiders make the most sense for Shedeur.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, perfect. Like good spot for him, position in need. Like you said, Tom Brady's there. In that ownership group. I think it makes a lot of sense for him. And I think you're right. I think that Cleveland's probably going to, kick the can down the road a little bit. Considering they have Joe Flacco to kind of hold the fort down, kick the can down the road for next year, for for the Arch Manning quarterback class, whoever else is in there, the Arch Manning class, basically. Next year for that, because again, like as much as you might like Shedeur, I think you probably would rather take your chances and kind of see what you can do with the quarterbacks in next year's class, because I think next year's quarterback class is stronger than this year's.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I always enjoy laughing at the Giants, Roy.
And you should.
Let's take a moment to laugh at the Giants. Now, look, they took my man Abdul Carter at number 3. I think he's going to be an absolute stud. Yeah, that's a good pick, smart decision. But the rumor leading up to the top 5 picks last night was that they were going to trade back because Brian Daboll loved Jackson Dart. They were going to trade out of 3, get some capital, take Jackson Dart late in the first. Well, it turns out they stuck at 3, kept Abdul Carter, and also traded up to get Jackson Dart, who typically in a year, 2 to 3 quarterbacks go in the first round. Usually 1 to 2 of them are a reach. The Giants famously reached very hard on Daniel Jones. It appears they've reached again. Now, this is Brian Daboll's guy. Now, this is why I think bringing Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, you can make the case, I think, deserved another chance. Joe Schoen, bringing him back is just comical. And this is why you don't do it, because, like, you're putting your franchise in the hands of a lame duck GM who's probably not going to be there to see out the life of these rookies. I just think it was a comically bad run organizational move last night to trade up and go get Jackson Dart. Now, if he ends up being great, then Brian Daboll's a genius and the Giants look really smart. I don't have confidence that Jackson Dart is going to be that guy.
And the thing is, like, Jackson Dart's not going to be that guy this year, right? So
no,
it's not going to pay. It's not going to pay immediate dividends. So, like, you're making this move for a future quarterback, but nobody's going to be there. You're like, if and when he's going to be, get significant playing time and be good. So I just don't understand. And I think, and nothing for nothing, I think you probably could have sold the fan base, or not even sold the fan base, sold the ownership group on making that move and drafting Shedeur over Jackson Dart, right? Because if you swing for the fences for Shedeur, all right, maybe you get a little bit more leeway, with Shedeur,
sure,
as far as giving him time to develop. Jackson Dart's older. Like, Jackson Dart's he's got to be ready, right? He's got to be ready to go pretty quickly. So I think that you bought yourself less time, with a quarterback who I think is less talented than Shedeur Sanders. I just don't understand what the Giants did with that move. And
it is now, I think, officially the weirdest quarterback room in NFL history. Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston eating dubs, Jackson Dart, and Tommy Cutlets is still in the mix.
Thomas, yeah, like Tommy Cutlets. Goodness, like, they can't have all 4 of these guys, right? Like, you can't go into the season with these 4 quarterbacks on your own. Like, they just re-signed Tommy Cutlets. I mean, they like DeVito he's fine, he's whatever. You can't have these 4 quarterbacks going into the season, right? Like, what's your depth chart? Like, is Jackson Dart your 4th? Like, you traded up for him. It got him in the end of the first round to be your QB4. Like, what are we doing?
I mean, I'm assuming, and real quick, we're going to be heading to overtime here at All PHLY. Assume, Roy, that the plan is to have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, like, in a true camp battle?
They said Wilson's the guy right now to start, right? So he's QB1 right now, and I imagine Winston, because again, Winston got a multi-year deal, so I imagine he's going to be QB2. I guess you just cut Tommy Cutlets, at training camp. Like if Jackson Dart's a functional quarterback, then you can't have 4 guys. So I guess you just cut Tommy Cutlets, but you really just re-signed him. So I don't this makes no sense to me. The Giants don't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like we saw from Hard Knocks last year, the Giants, that front office is I don't know who's in charge or who's making decisions, but they just don't do things logically.
It's very funny. I enjoy the bit of them leaning into being one of the worst organizations in the league. And also look, I think Abdul Carter was the right pick, but
sure.
Pass rush was not their issue. You know what I mean? They have Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns and Dexter. They have a good line. Now you can make the case that you just don't pass on Abdul Carter there. And I think that's
right.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. I'm not ripping them for it, but it's they didn't address a weakness. They got one of the best players in the draft, but it's not like they're plugging in a hole on the roster.
Yeah, no, they have. I think the Giants were you're right. I think they were here's our pick. Here's the best player on the board. You can't pass up an Abdul Carter, so you take him. So yeah, and that's fine. And that's but again, it's the other moves, the other moves and non-moves that they've made over the years. Again, letting Saquon go, extending Daniel Jones. The whole Jackson Dart thing, nonsensical, completely nonsensical.
What else jumped out to you as we're wrapping up here, Roy? Anything else jump out to you in the first round last night? I was pretty stunned by the Loveland Tyler Warren flip-flop there with the Bears making a surprise pick. With Loveland's a very good player. I'm not taking that away from him, but I think everybody had Tyler Warren, top 10, across the board, and Loveland goes ahead of him. That surprised me. What about you?
Yeah, that surprised me too, because I you probably saw that USC game, that Penn State USC game. Tyler Warren was just all over the field. I haven't seen a tight end do all of that in college, in a single game in a long time. So yeah. I was kind of surprised that Warren went after Loveland there. But again, Tyler Warren, excellent fit with the Colts. I mean, Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, you got a young
Daniel Jones.
You have a young quarterback with accuracy issues, probably needs a little safety valve. You can line Tyler Warren up all over that offense and make things happen. So good fit with him with Indianapolis. So kudos to him. I'm a little surprised that at the haul that Cleveland gave up to move up.
That was a lot. Or Jacksonville,
the Jaguars gave up to move up to Cleveland. That's a lot. I mean, and that's usually a quarterback type of haul, right? If you want to trade up to get a quarterback you like, then yeah, you'll mortgage the future, trade a first.
Am I missing something? But Jacksonville's probably not going to be great next year either. So that first round pick they gave up is potentially this isn't the NBA. You can't top 3 protect your pick.
Exactly. I mean,
it was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and again, we say this about Jacksonville every year, right? But I mean, the offense should be good again next year with Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas and now Hunter and Etienne and all that. But that's a lot to move up to get up. Even though he plays 2 positions, that's a pretty hefty price to pay to get Travis Hunter.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, I just wanted to promote one more thing. This goes out to the person in the chat that said we do more reads and promo than we talk actual football. I just wanted to preview before we get out of here our second annual PHLY golf outing. Roy, I don't know if you're a weekend hacker like myself, but would love to see you out there. But coming up Saturday, June 14th, at Valley Brook Country Club. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're doing a 2:00 shotgun start. I unfortunately missed last year's because of the family vacation, but I'll be there this year. I heard it was a blast. Our own producer, Andrew Frazier, here today said he had a blast at it with his dad and some others. So it's coming up. Just head to allphly.com to sign up and register. You don't have to be a full foursome. You can be a single. Diehards get a discount. It's going to be a great event. And a lot of fun coming up on June 14th. So everybody, all you golfers who like Pabst Light on the golf course, circle that date on your calendar so we can get out there and hack it up and have a good time. So just wanted to let the good people know, June 14th, golf outing. Be there. Do it. Let's party.
If you guys want to go out there and see Jamie shoot a 102, let's do it.
Yeah. I range anywhere from I've been in the high 80s, I think 4 times in my life.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I'm pretty consistently in the 94-ish range, but a 110 is not out of the realm of possibility, Roy.
Look, I'm not a golfer. So I'm not here to judge. I will be in the clubhouse drinking.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I am not a golfer because I will not judge you. To me, you are my Tiger Woods because I would get out there and I'd lose a whole sleeve of balls in the first hole. So I'm not here to judge.
The transfusions will be flowing. And that was for you, Philly Drone. You said you wanted more promos. I'll give them to you. June 14th. Hopefully we'll see you out there, Philly Drone. But that's going to do it for us today. Roy, thank you so much for filling in on the show today. Always a blast. Now, 6:30 tonight, the draft rounds 2 and 3 coverage will begin here with Zach, Bo, and Fran. Zach's going to be going down to the NovaCare, bringing you the latest from Howie Roseman after the picks, all that stuff. The great Fran Duffy draft analysis, and make sure you're making the draft headquarters on all PHLY. Your homepage tonight for the draft should be a good one. Eagles are in a great spot here to add more talent to this roster. And I think the feeling I get from the chat and talking with you, Roy, is that people are kind of good with a lot of options tonight. So they should get some talent. They could move up. They could stay at 64. We'll see what happens. But either way, the Eagles are primed to add more talent to this team. And it should be a fun evening.
Yeah, Eagles have 6 picks left in this year's draft. And again, like we mentioned, 12 in next year's draft. So plenty of ammunition to move up. Like Howie Roseman will not be quiet. So it's going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing. And the Eagles will not, as you said, they will not wind up drafting 18 bodies over the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So we'll see some moves tonight and we'll see some moves tomorrow. And Eagles should have a pretty decent haul by the end of Saturday.
Yeah, it should be a great time. Make sure you're checking out the page. The Die Hard sale ends on Sunday, so if you're not a Die Hard and you've considered it, hop in before the deal is over. $36 a year, less than $3 a month can get you access to all of our great writers and merch and plenty more. So there it is. Pounce on it. This is a draft special. It's going to be over on Sunday. So hop in, grab it if you haven't. I promise you it'll be worth it. For Roy Burton, thank you to Andrew Frazier behind the scenes for producing today's show. Can't wait for rounds 2 and 3 tonight with Zach, Bo, and Fran. Have a great day, everyone. Hit that thumbs up button on the YouTube page before you get out of here. Thanks for hanging out with us. We love you. We'll see you soon. Have a great weekend, everyone. Go Birds.
See you guys.
We all silly like the mayor.